Hey guys, we are back for yet another reaction video. I did one last night. I'm doing one tonight. And tonight I'm going to be reacting to my Amazon Prime Video watch history. Does that sound like fun? No? Well, I thought it'd be a good idea, or at least it's an idea. So if you've been watching my channel, if you've watched any of my videos, you probably heard me complain about my wrist, because I do it like every single video for the last 6 months. And, you know, I can't use them very often, and so I've been watching a lot of movies. So I started off with Tubi, watching movies on Tubi, and then I switched over to Netflix, and then I switched over to Amazon Prime, and now I've switched over to my DVD collection. And I'm currently rewatching the Outer Limits, the 1995 version of The Outer Limits, which is a great show. I watched an amazing episode, one of my favorite episodes tonight. And it starred Jason Priestley. He played the bad guy. And apparently he also directed that episode. I don't know what the episode's called, but I'm on the 3rd season. There's 7 seasons. So I'm not going to react to my watch histories for for Prime Video, Netflix, and Tubi, because I think for Prime there might even be 100 videos just for this one. And so if I spend 1 minute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically go through my list. I will give a very, very, very short review of the movie, say if I liked it or not. And I will also point out any, if there are any hot actresses in the movie, of course. And so if I do that and I spend like 1 minute per movie, that's going to be 100 minutes. And that's over an hour and a half. So I have to do this very quickly, and I have to try and be extremely concise, which is not my strong suit, but I'm going to try. I want to try and speak really quickly. My brain doesn't function that way. So now, yeah, so there's going to be a separate video for my Netflix history. This one's going to focus on Amazon Prime Video, and there's not going to be one about Tubi, unfortunately, because Tubi doesn't have a watch history. It does have a watch list, but it doesn't keep track of what movies you've actually watched. And so unfortunately I won't be doing that. However, we're going to be doing this. I think I did about a month of Prime Video. So I have about a month's worth of movies. Most days I watched more than one movie a day. And there shouldn't be any gaps. There may be like one gap, but I basically watched at least one movie a day. So we're going to start with the newest, and we're going to go all the way down to the oldest. So let's start off with Terror Train, the second. I'm going to do a double shot, actually, Terror Train and Terror Train, the second. Now, apparently this one, the first one, this was a remake of I don't know if it was the 80s or the 70s, but it starred, what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis. I still haven't watched that yet. I watched this in the sequel, and then I was going to watch the original after this, on the October 10th, but I ended up switching over to The Outer Limits. Now, so apparently this movie was very faithful to the original. At least that's what I read in a review. I still haven't seen the original, and this one was quite different. I remember watching this. I didn't know that this was purely based on the original, and I watched this one, and this one was quite different. And I was like, why are they so different? And it's because this was written by people of today. There is a really hot girl in both of these movies. She plays a more prominent role in this movie, but I don't know what her name is. Her character's name is Pet. So basically, you know, a bunch of college kids go on the train for a party. It's like a party train, and then they get killed off. And she had a sex scene in the first movie. But it was really annoying because the camera was angled in such a way that all the good stuff was blocked. So that was really unfortunate. Now let's go to the next one, Frozen. So this isn't the kids movie, Frozen. I feel like there's also a Vanessa Hudgens movie named Frozen, but it's not a kids movie. It might have a different name. Anyway, this one is about 3 20-year-olds who get trapped, stuck on a ski lift, and everyone at the ski resort, they go home. There's a storm that comes, and so they're trapped in the ski lift, literally 50 feet off the ground, for, I think, 4 days, because no one's going to come back for 4 days. And so, it's 2 guys and a girl. The girl and one of the guys are boyfriend, girlfriend, and then both of the guys are friends, like best friends. And so they're trapped up there 50 feet above the ground. And so the first guy decides, okay, he's going to jump down. He jumps down and breaks his legs, breaks the bone comes out of the leg. So he's stuck on the snow floor. Then some wolves come and eat him. And so the wolves are eating him. His girlfriend's up in the ski lift with his best friend, and they're like listening to this and freaking out. And so then I guess a day goes by. The chick really has to go to the washroom. And so she just ends up like pissing in the chair in the lift, and she starts crying, obviously, because that's, if you think about the reality of that situation, that's pretty bad. And then so the other guy, he climbs the cable, and he tries to go to the divider and go down the thing, going down the ladder and the divider. And he does that, but there are wolves there. And so he goes off. He yells at the girl he's going to come back as soon as possible. And so he's gone, and the girl's just waiting. She keeps waiting. He doesn't show up. And so she's like, okay, I have to jump now. So she goes to jump off, and the ski lift sort of falls. It falls halfway down, and then it's suspended by this like safety cable that starts. It's braided, a braided cable, and so the braids start breaking, and she has to jump. But she's halfway down now. She only has like a 20-foot jump, 25-foot jump, and so she does that. She survives, but then the ski lift falls down and hits her on the shin, and so she can't walk, and so she just slides down the hill as she's like pulling herself down the hill, sliding down the hill, and then she comes across the wolves who are eating the other guy. And so, but she's able to go by them because they're currently, they have their eyes on the other guy, so they're not interested in her. And she eventually gets to the bottom of the hill, and finally someone drives by and picks her up. That was a long review. I did enjoy this movie. I'm not sure if I enjoyed these movies. I think I did enjoy these movies. Gone in the Night Part 1. This featured Shannon Doherty and one of the Dillon brothers. I don't know if it was Kevin or Matt. They played parents. This was from 96, I believe. Shannon Doherty's prime, I guess you could say. And I don't know I think she was off. She was off of Beverly Hills 90210 by then, I believe. But they played parents. They had 2 young kids. And so basically the movie starts off, someone breaks into their basement window, and they go up to the top floor, and they wrap the girl, the young daughter, in a blanket, and they just walk out the front door. And then so Shannon Doherty and Dillon, they wake up, and the daughter's gone, and so they call the police, and no one knows what happened. Apparently this was based off of a true story, and the police weren't collecting the evidence properly, and then the FBI got involved, and there was an election coming up, and the FBI wanted to use this case to strengthen the election for whatever guy was running. But there was no evidence, and so they started looking at the parents, Shannon Doherty and one of the Dillons, and they were trying to pin it on them, even though they literally did nothing. And so then the daughter was found a couple days later in the blanket, like dead in a field. And so they're obviously freaking out about that. Meanwhile, they're being charged for the murder of the daughter. And it just it goes from bad to worse. And their young son gets put in a foster home, or like in an orphanage or whatever. They go to jail. They do eventually get bailed out of jail. People around the neighborhood sort of chip in to get them out. And then, so this is part 1. And so that the end of the movie, towards the end of part 1, Shannon Doherty figures out that she is pregnant. And so then they're both out of jail. They go to visit the son at the orphanage. It's around Christmas time. And you can tell that the lady who works at the orphanage can tell that they're, good parents. And so she lets them interact with their son for longer than she's allowed to. And so they eventually have to leave, and it's raining outside, and they start arguing because, this really bad situation. The son comes and wants to see them. He's like banging on the door. It's throwing a tantrum. And then part 1 ends there. So if that was the end of the movie, this would have been like, these people were just getting absolutely screwed around with the entire movie. So if that was I don't know what part 2 is, because this part 2 wasn't available on Prime Video. So I never got to see I didn't get to see the resolution. So if this part 1 was the whole movie, that would have been quite the depressing movie. I did enjoy it though. What Lies Below, this features this girl here. She played like a 16-year-old or something, but she was 20 or 22 or something. And her mom was Mina Suvari. And apparently she went to school. She went to school somewhere. She came back home to her mom's place. Her mom was like a single. She didn't have a husband or anything. She was single when the daughter left. And the daughter comes home, and the mother has a boyfriend, a real hunk of a boyfriend. I don't know who the guy is. I remember going to his IMDb, and I don't think he had that many credits, but he did a good job in this movie. He was very good looking, and that was part of the plot. And it turns out that, so this guy was sort of pretending to be a scientist, trying to take like water samples. They lived on like a lake or something. And, but he sort of acted strange, and the daughter was like, this guy's not, he's not all there. He's acting funny. And one day the daughter watches the guy. So this is at night, and then she looks over, she wakes up, and she looks into the lake, and there's lights coming out from the bottom of the lake, and she watches as the guy just walks right into the water, fully submerged, and then just disappears into the water. And so she goes outside, and she's wondering where he is, and then he appears behind her, and he's completely dry. And so obviously weird stuff is going down, and apparently he was like an alien or something. I think he was an alien. And I really like the ending of the movie, because I think, there ended up being a whole bunch of different versions of that guy. And there was this basement that had these compartments filled with water, and there were humans inside the water. And I think the girl and her mother ended up being put into one of those compartments. Anyway, I did like it. My Best Friend's Exorcism, this was, I think, like a comedy, a dark comedy or something. There were these two girls, best friends. One of the girls, they go to like this haunted house or something, and one of the girls gets possessed, and she starts acting funny throughout the movie. I think I did like this movie. Yeah, especially, I can't remember actually, but I think I did enjoy it. 645, this was a strange movie. 645, this movie actually reminded me of Silent Hill 2, the video game. Actually, there's a Silent Hill 2 movie coming out. I don't know when it's coming out. I think it's done filming. They're just putting the final touches. I just learned about this a few weeks ago, and I love that game. And I always thought, so there have been 2 Silent Hill movies so far, but they weren't based off of Silent Hill 2, the Silent Hill 2 video game. And I always thought that plot in that video game would make for a great movie. And occasionally I've seen movies that are sort of similar to Silent Hill. One of them being, I think it's called The Eye, featuring Jessica Alba. She has like, I think she was blind or something, and then she gets these donor eyes, and then she starts seeing this weird stuff. That sort of reminded me of Silent Hill. This movie reminded me of Silent Hill 2. It was this guy and his girlfriend. The guy was like a sort of an alcoholic or a hothead or something. He was a musician, and he was trying to, win back his girlfriend. So they go on this vacation to apparently his childhood town or something, which was sort of on the coast of some city. And then so they get there, they go to sleep, they wake up. The guy wakes up at 6:45. What is this called? The alarm clock wakes him up at 6:45, even though he didn't set it. And then they spend their day doing whatever touristy stuff. And then at the end of the day, or at some point in the day, there's this masked guy who shows up, and then he slits the girlfriend's throat. And then the guy like falls down. And he's like, what the hell happened? And then the guy wakes up again in his bed at 6:45, and he has to keep reliving the same day over and over and over. And he's the only one who realizes what's happening. He's the only one who realizes that he's reliving the everything over and over. And so he tries to do different things each time he wakes up. He tries to change it so that his girlfriend doesn't get killed, but every time she gets killed, until the very last time when he somehow figures out that I think he doesn't leave his apartment at all, or their like hotel room or whatever. I can't remember exactly what happens, but anyways, they do finish the vacation, but it turns out that like at the end of the movie, it turns out that the girlfriend, he actually killed the girlfriend before going on the trip, and then he gets arrested, and I don't know, he was having delusions or something, but that's what made me think of Silent Hill 2. I did enjoy this movie. Yeah, totally killer. This was another sort of dark comedy. I did enjoy this. It was Julie Bowen played the mother, and Kiernan Shipka played the daughter, who was apparently 17 at the time. Now, so this was based in the 80s and current day. So back in the 80s, Julie Bowen's character was in high school, and her friends, she had like a group of friends. Her friends got killed by the serial killer. And then fast forward to present day, now Julie Bowen's character has a daughter around the same age as she was. And Julie Bowen's character gets killed once again by presumably the same serial killer who had killed off her friends 35 years prior. And then so Kiernan Shipka's character, the daughter, she has a best friend who's into inventing things. And so the friend is working on a time machine. And so Kiernan Shipka's character gets sent back into time, into the 80s, to try and stop the serial killer from killing anyone from the very beginning. And so, but it's like it's like a horror comedy. And then one of the reasons why I like this movie was because so it's like present day. So Kiernan Shipka's character is like, she's woke and she's politically correct and all that sort of stuff. And she got sent back to the 80s. And the funny part is the juxtaposition between her character and how she talks and how she thinks compared with these people from the 80s where it's completely different. And so she's always like correcting their wording and their speech and stuff like that. And they don't give a shit about what she's saying or anything like that. So it's very funny. I think my favorite line from the movie is she ends up trying to get in good with her mom and her friends. But they're total bitches to her. They don't like her at all. And so she ends up going to it. They go to a party, and the daughter makes it into the party, and she's trying to warn her mom and her friends about the serial killer. They're not interested. And so there's this tall black guy, Jock, who went to the school, played on the football team probably, and he was acting as the bouncer. And so the girls told him to, get her out of the party. And so he goes to remove her from the party, and he puts his arm, or he like grabs her, and she's like, unwanted touching. And he's like, unwanted human. That was my favorite line from the movie. I did enjoy this movie though. Next one, Alien Code. What is this? Oh, right. Okay. So this is a cryptographer guy who gets visited by some person in the government. And so apparently they found some sort of message in a satellite, and they needed someone to decrypt it. And so they hired this guy to do it. He apparently does it, and then they don't need him anymore. And then what? I don't even remember really what happened. There were aliens involved. I think they sort of existed on a different time space continuum or whatever, space-time continuum. I did enjoy the movie though. And then the government sort of chases him for the rest of the movie. And Quanta, this one is about, oh right, so this is a physicist's lifelong work. Okay, so this guy here, he was working on some sort of device, this thing right here, in order to, I forget what this did, but he was taking too long to develop it, and so he was his funding was getting revoked, And then he ended up taking it to a different university, taking his invention to a different university to try and get some funding, but with the stipulation that he had to work with this young guy, this young hotshot guy who was into podcasts and YouTube and stuff like that. And so they end up working together. They work well together, and then they sort of come across by accident that if they sort of angle this device towards the sky, they were picking up some sort of alien message, or alien signal. And so they're really interested in that. They do a bunch of testing. The older guy is being very cautious because this is not this specific thing has happened before, but something similar has happened before, and he wants to do as many tests as possible, or else it could get out of his hands and he won't have access to it anymore. And so he was warning the younger guy about doing that, but the younger guy is more interested about talking about it on his YouTube and on his podcast and whatnot, even though they're not getting that many views. And then at the end, towards the end of the movie, the young guy, they sort of have a falling out, the young guy and the old guy. So the young guy sort of points the device at his head, and then he activates it, and then I guess he sort of he evolves and he becomes extremely smart. But then it stops working, and at the end of the movie, they burn down the laboratory. I did enjoy it though. Dark Encounter, I really liked this movie. This was an interesting movie because you sort of, based on the picture here, this is a house, and so there's a lot of lights. There are a lot of lights featured in the movie. So it's based in the 80s again. So this couple goes out for the night. They come back. They have a young son not a young son. I think he's like 13 or 14. And then they have a young daughter who's probably around 8 or 9. And the son was not at home that night. The younger daughter was, but the parents, they also live sort of out in the country. So the parents come home, the daughter's gone. And they don't know where she is. And so a year later, she's still missing. The parents, the son, and then their like relatives, they all live in that little town. They're for the 1 year anniversary, they get together, they have a meal, and they talk about the daughter and whatnot. I think the uncle is like the sheriff of the town, and so he's involved as well. He was involved with the investigation and whatnot. And then that night, the mother and father, they've sort of grown apart after this disappearance because, it's been very stressful, and, they don't sleep in the same bed anymore. And so that night there's a whole bunch of lights. Now there's a whole bunch of lights outside, and weird stuff is happening. And then some of the relatives and the family members, they start to disappear. And so you obviously think, but you're watching this movie, you obviously start thinking that, okay, the young daughter was abducted by aliens because, there's all these lights and stuff. You don't see an alien yet, but, based on the cover of the movie, and you assume that, and obviously Dark Encounter, it sounds like an alien abduction movie, right? And so so they don't know what's going on. There's just lights, a lot of lights. They're freaking out. People keep disappearing. And then there's only like 3 people left, and they're all huddled in the bedroom, and the lights come back, and then an alien comes as well. And then so they focus on the mother. And so she gets transported through some sort of wormhole or something to a replica of their house. And if she looks through a window in her house, she can see it's like a mirror into the room she's in, but it's actually in a different time. So she can see, she looks into, she's able to see her daughter. She's in her daughter's room. She looks through the window and she's able to see her daughter in the room. And it's that night that she got taken, and she was taken. And so she's going through the house. The daughter hears a knock at the door. The daughter goes down the stairs, so she follows. The daughter isn't aware that that she's watching her. The mother just has like a window into what was going on. And so it was the the person at the door was the sheriff, was the uncle. So the uncle came over just to see how she was. And then he realized that the son wasn't there. He knew that the parents weren't there. And then, so once he realized the son wasn't there, he went upstairs to the daughter's room, and it's assumed that he, did some really bad stuff. Like he probably sexually assaulted her, and he may have even killed her. He did eventually kill her. I don't know if he did it in the room or what, but he came down the stairs with the girl and stuck her in the trunk, and then he drove away. And so the mother saw this, and then she gets transported back to her real house. And then everyone else appears as well. And you could tell there's not a lot of dialogue here. There's a lot of music, and it's in slow motion, but you can tell that everyone had the same vision. They saw what the mother saw and what happened to the daughter a year prior. And so they go downstairs, and the guy, the uncle, the sheriff, is down there. He's sort of like huddled in the corner crying because now everyone knows what happened, and he was ashamed. And so she didn't actually get abducted. It was him. And so I think they eventually found her body. And then the mother and the father, at the very end of the movie, the mother and father, they went back to sleeping in the same bed. So it was sort of a happy ending, but obviously not for the young daughter. But it was a really good movie. I really liked it. It really made you feel. Observance, this was a very strange movie. I didn't finish it. I got like halfway through. Yeah, halfway through, a little over halfway through. So this guy, a troubled private investigator, so he was hired to observe this girl in the building across the street, and he sort of blanked out the windows in whatever apartment he was renting for the time, and he was using a telescope, and so he ended up putting microphones in her room so that he could hear her as well. He was hired to do this. He didn't know why he was doing it. He didn't know what he was looking for. He was just hired to observe and take notes and whatnot. And so he was doing that. And apparently he had problems with his wife as well. But there was this weird stuff that was happening. Very strange. And then so when I stopped watching it, he started coughing up this like black tar stuff. And that specific scene was very gross because it was like this really gross sound effects too. It was like bad ASMR. So I ended up stopped watching it because it was kind of disturbing. But I would like to finish this because it was pretty interesting. Bloodcraft, I don't think I watched this movie. Yeah, no, I started watching it, but then I wasn't into it. So I did not watch this movie. The Sinners, this was about a bunch of girls at a girls' school. They all had like a Catholic girls' school. They all had their uniforms, like the Catholic schoolgirl stuff. And it was really it was almost a wasted opportunity because you had a lot of like these hot 20-year-olds. And they were in the uniform and whatnot. But there weren't any scenes that sort of showed that off, really, unfortunately. But it was the Sinners. So basically there was this clique of girls, and each girl sort of represented one of the 7 deadly sins. And there was this one girl who didn't like it because she was really religious, and they all turned on her. And they, what did they do? They like sort of abducted her. And then she ran away. And then the girl who got abducted, she got away, and then she ran away. And none of the girls know what happened to her. And then the other girls in the clique, day by day, they start getting abducted, and I think they even get killed. And it turns out that the really religious girl who ran away at the beginning, she was sort of in cahoots with the town psycho or the town pervert or something, and it was him who was killing the girls. Deep Water, this was Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. She's really hot. Now, I did not finish this movie. I only watched a little bit of it. Very, very short amount of it. So I don't know what this is about. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. You probably can't see it, but the my screen just went black. I don't know why it does this. Okay, it turned back on. So I'm going to have to stop clicking on these. Silent Hill Revelation. This is the sequel. It's not really a sequel. And so I got on a Silent Hill kick for some reason. I forget why. But I've already seen these movies, and then I rewatched them. I saw both of them in the theater, actually. If I remember correctly, Silent Hill Revelation is from 2012. Silent Hill, the original, is from 2006. And I did like these movies. I mean, they obviously have some really neat visuals, but I was also disappointed with certain ways the movies were portrayed. Because, you know, they sort of have to they have to moviefy the video game. And sometimes those movie things aren't very good. But, I mean, this was the first time I rewatched these movies, and it was pretty cool. This one has Rhoda Mitchell. She was really hot. I think this was my introduction to her. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Silent Hill 2, the Silent Hill 2 movie. And Ginger Snaps the Third, the beginning, featuring Catherine Isabel and Elizabeth Perkins. This is the third iteration of this movie. I didn't know this at the time, but I was watching this, and Catherine Isabel has like a nude scene in this movie. I didn't even know that existed. It's just a quick butt shot, and it's just like, I don't even think it's her whole butt, but it's like you get to see quite a lot of her butt crack. But my God, she is so hot, and I didn't know she had a nude scene ever. And so that's the most I've seen from her. There's also slight side boob. Now, her sister is Emily Perkins in this movie. I've never seen her in that situation either. I haven't seen the second movie. If I remember correctly, the second movie is not on Amazon Prime. I'd like to watch that, though. So the first movie, Catherine Isabel's character turns into a werewolf. And I think the second movie, the other girl, Emily Perkins' character, turns into a werewolf, I believe. Automata doesn't even have like a screenshot here, a little thumbnail. I don't know why, but this one features, I keep wanting to say Benicio del Toro, but that's not true. What the hell is that guy's name? Antonio Banderas. So this is set in the future. It's like a dystopian future, and there are robots, like helper robots for humanity. You know, there's not a lot of, like it's really dry. There's not a lot of water. And so Antonio Banderas' character plays, he plays like this insurance guy. I don't know what that has to do with the robots. So some people have like this helper robot, and it's discovered that, so normally the robots were designed so that they could not repair themselves. But it was discovered that some robots were able to repair themselves and sort of improve themselves. And so he was tasked with figuring out why, like how that happened. And he eventually came across like the leader robot who lived outside of town. If I remember correctly, I think there was some sort of radiation, like, if you go further out of town or something like that. I don't really remember, but I did like this movie. It was interesting. My Terrorized Teen, I like this movie. I like thrillers. I really like thrillers, and this involved some like some girls some high school girls, and this one girl was being terrorized, who we thought was being terrorized by other girls at the school, but it ends up being one of the mothers from one of the girls. So the Terrorized Teen is sort of in competition for some scholarship with this other girl, and the other girl apparently has a lot of money. The Terrorized Teen apparently doesn't have a lot of money, but it's strange because they show her the inside of her house, and it's like huge. I don't understand that part of the movie, but it turns out the other girl's father was arrested or something, and they didn't end up having any money. And so the mother was was terrorizing this other girl into giving her daughter the scholarship. Another I did not watch this. This features Ksenia Solo. So I started watching the movie because of her. And so she played a character in the show Lost Girl with Anna Silk. I've seen a few episodes of that. That's when I was introduced to Ksenia Solo's character. However, I was not into this movie, so I stopped watching it. Behind You. Yeah, okay, so Behind You, this was sort of like a psychological horror. This was like a haunting movie. Yeah, so there was a haunted house or something that people lived in, and this girl had a younger sister. Their mother died or something like that, and they go to live at their aunt's house, who still lives in the haunted house. And apparently there's like a ghost trapped in the mirror or something, and the ghost gets released, and it sort of takes over the younger daughter's body. This was an okay movie, I think, if I remember correctly. Otherlife, I loved this movie. If I remember correctly, this was either Australian or New Zealand-ish. I don't know what the proper terminology for that is. This was about a girl who had developed some sort of eye drops. I think it was eye drops. Yeah, there's an eye, and then there's some sort of eye drop that you would put in your eye, and then you could experience like a long time in a short amount of time. And so basically, I think she started using it sort of as like just taking a vacation. So she would do this, and then she could go snowboarding. That's what she was doing at the beginning. She would go snowboarding, like she'd go for a weekend snowboarding, and then I don't know how long it lasted, probably half an hour or something of actual real time. And then she would wake up, and then so she's testing out these eye drops, and she tested out on her boyfriend. Her boyfriend ends up dying, and so now they're in danger of losing their funding for the eye drops. She's a scientist, and so then, but people the people who are funding it, they're more interested in using it for rehabilitating criminals. So they want to use it for the penal system. So if someone gets charged with, like, sentenced to a specific amount of time for murdering someone, they could just get these eye drops, and they could like serve their sentence in a very short amount of time. And for some reason, she ends up putting the eye drops in herself in order to test it out. I forget why. And so I forget why. It's probably, to be honest, it's probably because she gave her boyfriend, because the boyfriend died. Anyway, so she's having this vision where she's in a jail cell, and there's this giant, like, there's on the wall, it lists the day. So she has to spend a year, 365 days in this virtual jail cell. And this is only going to take like a couple hours of real time. And so the days are going by. The days are counting on the wall there, so she knows how much time's going by. And at 365, she waits for it to go back to zero, or to end. And it goes back to zero, but it doesn't end. And then, so she's wondering, what the hell's going on? I'm stuck here forever? And then so she eventually figures out how to escape. And then she figures out other stuff, but then it ends up being that she was always just in the laboratory with the eye drop, and it finally wears off. And I forget what happens at the ending, but apparently this was very similar to an Outer Limits episode that I watched very recently, actually. It featured one of the guys from Frasier, David Hyde Pierce, who plays Niles, I believe. It was basically the same plot. So he had created this sort of virtual virtual thing in their mind where you could attach someone into this. I can't speak right now. You sit someone in a chair, you stick something on their head, and they believe they're in a prison, and they can live out their sentence in there, and then they come out rehabilitated, and it's only been like a few hours. And David Hyde Pierce's character ends up getting sent to the prison. And right, but he didn't know he was in there. That was the problem, because he attached himself because there was another guy who was doing this, but the guy was innocent, and so he ended up dying, or he was dying. I'm just gonna skip ahead. 400 Days. This, I believe, featured Dane Cook. It was about 4 astronauts, I believe. They were doing some sort of test. This was kind of a weird movie. So they got sent into an underground bunker, and they had to live down there for 400 days. This was supposed to be a simulation to simulate going into outer space for a specific amount of time. And it was kind of strange. They end up leaving early, and then people are acting funny. I don't really remember how it ended. Intruders, I did like this one. This one featured Martin Starr. He played a bad guy, and also Rory Culkin. Rory Culkin he was in the movie Home Alone. Rory Culkin is Macaulay Culkin's brother, I believe. Brother or cousin, I forget. No, brother. He played Macaulay Culkin's cousin in Home Alone. He was the kid who wet the bed. And so there was this girl she is severely agoraphobic. She hasn't left the house in like 10 years, I believe. And so she looks after her brother. Her brother is bedridden. He's dying. And then the brother dies. And so there's a guy, Rory Culkin's character, actually, he delivers food to the girl. And he's been doing it for quite a while. And so she offers him like a whole bunch of money because she has a lot of money that she doesn't use because she never leaves the house. And he declines because, they've struck up sort of a relationship, or a friendship at least. And he's like, I can't take the money. And then so she's supposed to go to her brother's funeral, but she's agoraphobic, so she doesn't end up leaving the house. And during the funeral, there are these guys who come to the house and they break in, and she's not supposed to be there. So then they're like, oh shit, why are you here? Because they had heard about the money from Rory Culkin's character. And so there's this part where she realizes they're in the house and she's hiding from them, and then she runs down the stairs to leave. The door's wide open, but she just can't leave. And then so they spend all the time. They realize that she's agoraphobic. She can't leave. And so they're looking for this money. They can't find the money. And eventually they end up getting trapped in the basement. And the basement was like a dungeon type thing. And it turns out that there was a bedroom in the basement that was locked off on all sides. And so the bad guys get stuck in the dungeon, and then she is sort of screwing around with them because apparently I think she was stuck in the dungeon when she was a little girl by the father. And the brother finally, I think, either killed the father, and then he killed the father. And so now it was the brother and the daughter and the sister, brother and sister. And apparently the brother and the sister brought like pedophiles to the house, and they would torture them in the basement there. So there's a lot of different parts to this movie. I did enjoy this movie. It was really, I did enjoy it. Yeah. The odds, I did not, I shouldn't have clicked that. The odds was, I never finished this movie. It was sort of, it was about this girl who signed up for some sort of contest. It was her and this guy, and she had to do various tasks that involved pain, and she had to go from level to level, trying to level up. So there was a whole bunch of other people. Each person was in their own room it was 2 people. We're just going to the next one. Ouija Death Trap. I did not watch this. I started watching it because it has a really nice picture right here, but I didn't finish it. It ended up being really bad. You know, some of these movies, they have a really nice, like a poster, really nice looking poster. And also some movies, they have a really nice looking sort of intro credits, like start credits. What are those called? Not the end credits, but the start credits. And my theory is that they sort of hire people to do that. And then the actual movie is really bad. So I think that's what happened here. The Rendering is another Shannon Doherty movie, and she gets attacked, I believe. She's an artist, and so she ends up doing like a rendering of the criminal, and they end up finding him, I think, putting him away. And then she ends up helping the police out because she's so good at drawing the faces. And then I think the guy gets released from prison eventually and goes after her again. Bad Reputation. I did not finish this movie either. A Stalker in the House. Yeah, I did like this movie. This was about a girl who went out with this guy. The guy ended up being kind of a psycho. Well, obviously, because he turned into a stalker. But she was not really into him. She was hot, actually. I don't know what her name was. She didn't want to. He was very persistent. She didn't want to go on another date with him, and so he ends up sort of breaking into her house. He watched her type in the code to her front door, and so when she wasn't there, he went into her house, and he sort of hid out in a closet or something, and so he would live in her house while she was there, but she didn't know that he was there. And eventually she figures out that he lives there. I think he also killed her. Like, she had an ex-boyfriend, but they ended up getting back together, and he killed her. He killed him, but she got the last word. Stalked by My Mom. Okay, so I watched this specifically because of this. I think she's called Jessica Taylor, if I remember correctly. She plays Chelsea on 2.5 Men. She plays one of Charlie's girlfriends, Chelsea. She also played a character earlier on. I don't know what her name was. It was a different character. And then they liked her and they brought her back a few years later. Now, earlier on, Stalked by My Mom. So she has a younger daughter. And so when the daughter was young, obviously a younger daughter. I think now the daughter's in high school or some shit, in college. Yeah, in college. So the mother, when the daughter was younger, the mother and the daughter were in a library, and the mother went to go find a book. The daughter was on her own. A teacher came into the library, noticed that the daughter was alone, and he was going to bring her into the school so that she wasn't alone. The mother saw this, that he was going to take her, and he was just trying to be nice. He was just a teacher trying to be nice. And the mother got all freaked out and was calling him a pervert and all this sort of stuff. And she ended up ruining his life over that incident. And it turns out that the teacher had a younger daughter as well, so the teacher ended up killing himself, and the daughter was taking revenge over the mother. And so the daughter was, I forget what she was. Yeah, she was trying to frame the daughter. This daughter was trying to frame her daughter for murdering some guy. The Surrogacy Trap. I don't think I finished watching this because I realized I'd watched this quite a while ago. This features Mia Kirshner, very hot girl, with Rachel Blanchard, very, very hot girl. And it's like a thriller. So Mia Kirshner can't get pregnant, I believe, and her and her husband want a baby. And they hire this girl, Rachel Blanchard's character, and she ends up being crazy, obviously. And I forget exactly what happened, but I saw this on TV probably about 10 years ago or something. Flirting with Danger. This features Charisma Carpenter. And it also features, what is her name? Veronica Sanchez? Vivian Sanchez or Veronica Sanchez? I think it's Veronica. But yeah, this is another thriller. I don't really remember what happened. I can't remember who the bad girl is, if it's her or if it's someone else. The Gift. What was this? Oh, right. So I think this was featuring Jason Bateman. And so him and his wife, they buy a new house. And then there's this guy here. He ends up being this guy from school who went to the same school as Jason Bateman. And he tries to strike up a friendship with them. So they're like in their 30s, I guess. And so he sees Jason Bateman's character. And they're like, oh, it's me from school. And that guy's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so he's trying to sort of get involved in Jason Bateman's character's life with him and his wife. But he's kind of creepy. And then weird stuff starts to happen. It turns out that Jason Bateman's character sort of ruined this guy's life. And I don't really remember what happens at the very end. But apparently this guy not only starred in the movie, but I think he wrote it and he may have even directed it as well. I don't know what this guy's name is. Cat Person. Oh my God, this movie was pretty ridiculous. Now this girl, I don't know what her name is, but she totally reminded me of Zooey Deschanel. I think this girl was a college girl. She worked at a movie theater, and this guy, he kept sort of buying the same candy, and so she tried to strike up a conversation with him because I guess she wanted to date him, and he wasn't doing it. Apparently he was older. He was like 8 years or something older than her, and so they go on a few dates. And this girl has like a really woke best friend who is like a hardcore feminist. She thinks all men are horrible. She's a really annoying character. But the main character girl, she's not that crazy. But she starts to get sort of what's the word? So this guy hasn't been in a relationship in quite a while, so he's pretty rusty in the relationship category. He said he had a cat, or he had cats, and she goes to his house and she didn't see any cats, so she's wondering what's going on. And some really strange I wish I could remember. It gets really ridiculous. So she thinks that he is trying to kill her, but he's not at all. And it gets to the point where they're like fighting each other. She ends up going to his house. Oh, because he has a dog as well. So he goes to his house. The dog's there. She said that she didn't want anything to do with him anymore. So she basically broke up with him. And now she's in his garage. And he's like, what are you doing in my garage? And And then so she tries. Oh, I remember now. So he goes up to her in his garage. She broke into his garage, and then he's asking her like, why are you here? She's getting all freaked out, and so she had brought some mace with her, and she goes to shoot the mace in his eyes, but she had it backwards, and she shoots it in her own eyes, literally just like what movie was that? It was a Jim Carrey movie, I think it was Ace Ventura, where he goes to put the banaka and it sprays out the other side. I feel like it's that. It's either that or it's Dumb and Dumber. I can't remember. So now she's got mace in her eyes. He brings her inside, and it keeps escalating. She thinks he's trying to kill her, and it gets to the point where they get in a fight, and then the house gets on fire, and they go down to the basement, and so he is paranoid that he doesn't want to let her go because she's got mace in her eyes because of her. She did it to herself, and she thinks that he's trying to kill her. And so if she leaves, then he's going to get in a lot of trouble. There was more to this that I'm not remembering, but the house burns down. They end up hiding in the basement and under this like metal door. So the house burns down. They're found like the next day, and then he ends up moving away. Somewhere Quiet. I did not finish this movie, so I don't know what this was. View of Terror. This was another Shannon Doherty movie. And what did she do? She moved to a new place, and someone was spying on her with a telescope. And so she ended up getting a telescope as well. And I don't really remember what else happened. Girls' Night Out. This one. Okay, this was about some girls. One of the girls was getting married, so they were having a bachelorette party, I should say. And then I think one of the girls' ex-boyfriends was, kidnapped the groom. And so then the ex-boyfriend was sort of giving the bachelorette girls over the phone. He was giving them these tasks that they had to perform in order to let the groom go. And this was kind of a ridiculous movie. Cyberbully, I did not finish this one. This seemed like it was a movie for younger people, not for someone like me. Split, what was this? Oh, right. This was my first Anna, what was her name? Anya Taylor-Joy movie. I've seen her before, like on the computer, but I've never seen her. I knew she's an actress, but I've never seen her in a movie before. So this was the first time. I think that's James McAvoy. He played this guy who has 23 distinct personalities, and he ends up abducting Anya Taylor-Joy's character and two other girls. So they were at a birthday party or something, and so they get abducted. He starts acting really. This is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I really like this movie up until the ending. So this guy was saying that he was developing a 24. So he had a therapist who he was seeing while he was abducting these girls, and he abducted. Apparently, he worked at a zoo, and he took them into like this basement section of the zoo where there were cages and stuff like that. And so he was telling the therapist that there was this 24th personality that was trying to come out. And then, so, I mean, the movie was sort of like psychological. And then it turned into paranormal. Because the guy, towards the end of the movie, he transforms into this, like, being. And once that happened, I sort of, I didn't buy it anymore. But Anya Taylor-Joy was a brunette in this movie. She was so hot in this movie. This is the only movie I've seen her in. Her eyes are very far apart, but it looks good. It looks good. I'm not criticizing that. That's just like a unique feature of hers. A Bleeding Heart. This was a Jessica Biel movie, and there was another girl. So she has a sister. Jessica Biel has a sister who she has. She didn't know she had a sister, but she realizes that she had a sister. And it turns out they're like all grown up. And so she realizes she has a sister. How many times am I going to say that? And it turns out this sister is a sex worker. So she's like a prostitute. And so she tries to get to know her sister. Jessica Biel's character is like a yoga teacher or something. And she has like some hippie boyfriend. And so she tries to get involved in her sister's life. She tries to make her sister's life better. She invites the sister to stay with her and her hippie boyfriend, and she takes her new sister to her mother's place. Apparently, they had a different mother or a different father. I forget how they were related exactly. But the sister, the sex worker, had like a pimp boyfriend, some asshole pimp boyfriend, who was, very dangerous and violent and all that sort of stuff. And so Jessica Biel wanted to get her away from him. And so towards the end of the movie, they take her she takes the sister to the mom's house, to her parents' house, the mother's house. But the boyfriend figures out where she lives. And so the boyfriend hunts them down, and early in the morning, he's knocking on the door, telling the sister to come out because he wants to take her home. And he's going to like hit her and like beat her up and shit like that. And then, so Jessica Biel's character, I think she stole his gun. And so she has his gun. She ends up going, so he drags the sister outside and they're about to leave. And Jessica Biel's character goes outside and ends up shooting him. And then that's when the movie ends. It's kind of strange that the movie ends there because you would think that Jessica Biel's character would get in a lot of trouble for that because she stole his gun. And then she shot him. Even though the guy was like violent, he didn't have a gun and he wasn't, I don't know how that would work, but I feel like Jessica Biel's character would get in quite some trouble because she literally killed the guy. But they never focused on that. The movie just ended there. So I guess you're left to wonder what happened. The Kindred, what the hell is this movie about? A woman suffering from amnesia. Oh, right. I did not finish this movie. So I don't know what that is about. The Letter. What is this about? Is this a Winona Ryder movie? Yeah. Oh, okay. So Gone in the Night is also a Winona Ryder movie. So this one I did not finish. I tried watching it, but it was about, I think Winona Ryder's character was a play, like she wrote a play or something. She was directing a play or something like that. I did not finish this movie. Gone in the Night is another Winona Ryder movie. Winona Ryder is just like, she's awesome. Very unique actress. Super hot. Gone in the Night involved, so she played a teacher or something. She had like one of her students who was like 20 something, I guess. He ended up becoming her boyfriend. And so they were together. They end up going to a cabin for a night, and there ends up being another couple who reserved a cabin for some unknown reason. And so instead of these guys driving home, they decided they'll just share the cabin and then they'll drive home the next day. And so they do that, and then the Winona Ryder's boyfriend ends up disappearing in the morning. And so it's this other couple. So basically two couples, and the other couple is like this young couple, this young 20-year-old couple or something like that. And so Winona Ryder's character goes out in the woods looking for her boyfriend, and she sees the other boyfriend from the other couple, and the other boyfriend's like, they went off together. And so Winona Ryder's character gets all pissed off and she drives home, and it turns out that she ends up meeting this guy. I forget what his name is. He's an actor. I can't remember his name. Oh, it's just on the tip of my tongue. But she strikes up a relationship with him. He is more her age. I'm probably a little older than her. And it turns out that he has this disease, and he's looking for like these, I don't know what, but they ended up abducting the boyfriend. They didn't go off together. They ended up abducting him, and that couple was in on it. So that couple, the boyfriend from that couple was the son of this other guy who got involved with Winona Ryder's character. And so they abducted him in order to extract something from him so they could inject the older father in order to fix his disease or something like that. And Winona Ryder's character stumbles upon this later on. I did enjoy this movie. Some of it, yeah. I did not like the other couple though. They were kind of annoying. Perfect Sisters. Right. I did not finish this movie. Apparently this was based on a true story. So Perfect Sisters, it was about these two sisters. They had an alcoholic mother who was like a bitch, and she couldn't get her shit together. And so she would also get these boyfriends who would abuse the daughters. And I don't know if I said this, apparently it's based on a true story. And then the daughters come up with the idea of killing the mother because the mother just keeps putting them in really bad situations. She's a drunk, and so one night they kill the mother. The mother ends up drinking way too much, obviously, and then they give her like a sleeping pill, and then they put her in the bath. She's like completely out of it, and they just like put her head underwater very gently, and after a minute she's dead. And then so the daughters do that, but then I there was like 20 minutes or half an hour left in the movie, and I stopped watching it because I forget why exactly. Time Traveler's Wife. This featured Rachel McAdams, very hot Canadian girl. And she was born in the same city that I was born in, actually, London, Ontario. Time Traveler's Wife. I feel like she's my age as well. Like exactly. I don't know if that's true. She might be a 70s baby. I'm not sure. Anyway, she played the wife of a time traveler, apparently. This was sort of like it was a romance movie, but it also involved sci-fi. I remember watching this on TV like quite a while ago and liking it. So I decided to rewatch it. It was a pretty good movie. It's not a rom-com. It's a rom sci-fi. I don't know if there's a lot of com in it, but Native, what the hell? Oh, this one. Yeah, this one I didn't finish this one. Yeah, 2 scientists are selected to travel across the universe. Yeah, this was very strange. I didn't know what the hell was going on in this movie. It's like set in the future. And then these people are in a spaceship, and they have like telepathy, and it was very confusing. I stopped watching it. I don't know if I should have or not, but Cosmos. Okay, what was this about? Cosmos. I really hope my screen doesn't go black. Oh, this. Yeah, this movie, I did enjoy this movie. 3 amateur astronomers. So these 3 astronomers, they have like an antenna or something. So they bring their car out into the woods, and they're looking at the sky, and they're collecting data and whatnot. And so it's like a very scientific movie. And then eventually they start detecting the signal from outer space, and the guy is recording it on his computer. And so they're getting all excited because they're getting the signal. They don't know what it is, and there's a very slow buildup, and it's very satisfying. And they eventually start recording the signal, but then their battery power drops, and they're on the verge of losing all the data that they've collected. So now they have to decide what they're going to do. They tried to put the data onto like a flash drive, but it filled up way too quickly. So they had to like drive back to a laboratory to get a new battery. And so they finally decide, yeah, okay, well, if we're going to get a new battery, we have to go literally right now. And so all of a sudden, this is like maybe 2/3 of the movie, or 3/4 of the movie, 3/4 of the way into the movie, all of a sudden it turns into an action movie. and it's just to get a new battery. It's very funny. I'm probably not describing it perfectly, but all of a sudden they have to like be really quick. They have to pack up the car extremely quickly, and then they have to drive really quickly through the woods and then into traffic, and they have to get to the laboratory soon enough. And it's like, I don't know how many minutes. It's like 10 or 15 minutes, within 10 or 15 minutes, so that they can get a new battery. And they call the guy ahead to tell him to bring the battery out. But it's very funny because it went from like a scientific movie, a slow build scientific movie, all to an action movie. And they're doing like the quick shots and the stunt driving. They're, getting air in the car, and all for a new battery so that they wouldn't lose their data. It was that part was really funny. I think it was unintentionally funny, but I did like this movie. Yeah, it was a very good movie. Please don't turn black. Thank you. Moonfall. Oh yeah, this was, I forget who was in it. Moonfall. Was this Gerard Butler? Was this a Gerard Butler movie? No, it was not. This is the Halle Berry movie. Okay. Now, I forget what. This was like a disaster movie. Right. Okay, so the moon was coming close to Earth or something. This one had some ridiculous physics. This was like a disaster movie, one of those disaster movies. One of those Hollywood disaster movies. This had like $150 million budget or something like that. Some of the scenes were pretty outlandish. I remember there was this one where the moon gets so close to the Earth that now, gravity doesn't work properly anymore. So people are able to jump really high, and they're doing like these super long jumps with cars and stuff like that. I did enjoy it though. It's definitely like a popcorn movie. Screamers, I did not finish this one. Last Days on Mars. Did I watch this? In the sci-fi horror, group of astronaut explorers succumb to a mysterious and terrifying force. Oh, right. Okay, so these people are on Mars. They're collecting like soil samples or something, and they end up finding signs of life. And so they go to their drill area, and someone goes to the drill area, and then they disappear. And then there's another person who's near there, and then they disappear as well. And so then the other people, the other astronauts are, looking for them. They can't find them, and then they do find them, and they basically turn into zombies. So there's a bit of a build up towards this. And once they turned into zombies, I stopped watching because I don't like zombies. Don't Blink. This was another Mina Suvari movie. This featured Brian Austin Green as well from Beverly Hills 90210. This was about a group of friends who went up to the mountains to a cabin in the mountains. So they drive up there. It's really far away. There's no gas stations nearby. So they get there, and like their cars are almost out of gas. There are several vehicles. They each take their vehicles. They take multiple vehicles. And so they get to the cabin, and it's abandoned. No one's there. They look around. They go outside. There's like this body of water there. There's no animals. There are no bugs. The one girl digs up the ground. There's no bugs in the ground. And so then people start disappearing. And I couldn't finish this movie either. It was. So I stopped watching that movie as well. Decoys. Oh, right. Decoys was this was like, I think from 2004. This was a funny movie in the sense that, if I remember correctly, it didn't even have any, I was going to say it didn't even have any, any profanity. And if I remember correctly, it didn't even have any like violence really or anything like that. But there was a scene with these where these two girls got completely naked, and it was an awesome scene. And so it's just this like regular movie, and all of a sudden there's this like super hot nude scene. So what was it about? It was about these college kids. Yeah, these two college. It's a new year of college, and then these Swedish girls or these hot blonde chicks move in or something, and they're interested in these guys, and so the guys are all excited for that because they don't usually get girls like that, and it turns out they're actually aliens. They're decoys. The hot girls are decoys. It's kind of interesting because it was sort of, it didn't seem like how it would go. The movie didn't progress how I was expecting it. The decoys, they would sort of, they would kill who they were. So they would seduce a guy, and then they would take the guy and they would have sex with them. And then they would sort of, I don't know what they did. They would, they did something to the guy, and the guy died. I don't know what they were doing, but one of the decoys was started to develop feelings for the guy she was after, and the guy ended up figuring out that she was a decoy, and I think she told him, but he still agreed to have sex with her because apparently there was some sort of situation where there was a possibility that they would be compatible and he wouldn't actually die. And so that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to find someone who was compatible. And he took the risk, and I think he did end up dying, but it was interesting because they weren't necessarily, like, the aliens weren't necessarily bad guys. Yet at the end of the movie, they were bad guys. I'm not sure. Violentia, I don't think I watched this movie. A nanotech engineer finds a way to recreate memories using nanobots, but when his daughter is killed in a school shootout, he enlists in a secret government program to find a cure for violence using the psychopath's memories as testing ground. Yeah, I did not finish this, I believe. What? I did watch it. Why can't I remember it? Okay, well, I don't know what happened there. Equilibrium, what is this about? Oh, for fuck's sake. Screen just went black again. Come on, it takes like 10 seconds for it to come back. So annoying. I don't know why it does this. In an attempt to end wars and maintain peace, humankind has outlawed the things that trigger... Oh, right, I never finished watching this. Okay, don't know about that. Slash... This is a tongue twister. Slashlorette Party. So this was sort of like a horror movie that involved a bachelorette party. Yeah, I don't think I watched this. Oh, Slaxx. Okay, this movie, Slaxx. This was like a horror comedy. So it was about this new super cool style of jeans. So this girl goes to work at this clothing store that she's obsessed with, and everyone at the clothing store is like all about the clothing, and they're like doing really good work, and so they get this new style of pants that come in, and it turns out the pants are killer pants. And so they open the pants, they start putting some of the pants out, and one of the pairs of pants starts like killing people. And so and then so it's like a slasher movie with killer pants. I thought it was pretty funny. The Crush, this featured a young Alicia Silverstone. I think she was only 16 in this movie. She played a 14-year-old, and so she was a rich girl. Her parents had a big house. She lived in the house, obviously. Then they had a separate house that they were renting out. And so this guy, I forget what his name is, but he's the guy who played the main guy in The Princess Bride. He also played he played Robin Hood in Robin Hood Men in Tights. I forget what his name is. Carrie something. Anyway, he played a character. He rented out the side house, the separate house. And then so she's all interested in him, and she tries to seduce him. And she did a really good job. You could tell she was only 16 in this, but she did a really good job. And you could tell that she was going to be big. And shortly after that, she played Cher in Clueless. I don't know how shortly after, but yep. This was like a thriller type of movie because he didn't accept her advances because she was so young, obviously. Though I think he did kiss her. So he was like 20 something. And then he did kiss her once, and he said obviously that was a mistake. And then he ended up getting a girlfriend that he worked with, and then she got all jealous and she started ruining his life. And so it was a thriller, and at the end of the movie, something happens at the end. I don't know. No, she doesn't die. She gets sent to a mental hospital, and then she tries putting the moves on one of the nurses who works at the mental hospital. It was a good movie, though. Good movie. Voices. This features Amy Acker, a very hot girl. She has a really hot scene in this movie, a hot sex scene, and so I watched this movie like probably 10 years ago or something on TV, and then I saw that this was playing, and I recognized Amy Acker's face on the picture there, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this. What was it about? voices. It involved voices, but why? I think she could see, so she could see dead people or something like that. She was able to communicate with dead people, apparently. So, yeah, it was basically Ghost Whisperer. Yeah, that's what it was. And what? And what happened? Something happened in the movie. So she ended up having a sex scene. That's what I'm going to talk about in this movie. And once that scene came up, or I think a little earlier on, I'm like, wow, this is that movie. And so that scene comes on, and it's the hottest scene I've ever seen, featuring Amy Acker. I don't think she's ever had a nude scene. She was in her underwear, but her underwear, there was definitely some butt cheek going on. Very nice scene. And what am I saying? I'm trying to say that you have to love Amy Acker. I mean, she is so good. I don't even know what I know her from. I know her from this movie, but I don't know if I know her from anything else. She was also in a movie I watched recently The Cabin in the Woods. She was in that movie. That might even appear in here. That might be a Netflix movie, though. I'm not sure. The Quiet. This features Alicia Cuthbert, another Canadian girl, and Camilla Bell, I believe. I don't know if it's Camilla or Camille. I think it's Camille. Camille plays a deaf girl, I think. Yeah, a deaf girl who's also basically mute. She doesn't speak, or at least that's what we're supposed to believe. And I think her parents end up dying, and so she has to move in with Alicia Cuthbert and her parents. I think they're both supposed to be like high school kids or something. But Alicia Cuthbert's character is like a snobby cheerleader bitch type girl, and Camille Bell's character is like a deaf mute type of girl. So they're very different. Alicia Cuthbert hates her at the beginning, at least. And now that Camille Bell's character is living in the house, she starts to realize that the father is sexually abusing Alicia Cuthbert's character. And so they end up getting the idea to kill the husband, to kill the father, I should say. And because, so that's the thing, The Quiet. So Camille Bell's character is the only one who knows about the abuse. And Alicia Cuthbert is she's screwed up in the head because she likes the attention from her father, even though he is raping her. But she is interested in the relationship. Like she's into, because she's screwed up, right? And Camille Bell's character is the only one who knows that. And Alicia Cuthbert's character figures out that Camille Bell's character isn't actually deaf. She can hear, but she's just been faking it this whole time. And so they keep each other's secret. And towards the end of the movie, I forget who, but they kill the husband, or the father, I should say. And then I believe it's Edie Falco who plays the mother, and she's sort of into like pills and stuff, or wine or something like that. So she's sort of out of it. And then she feels really guilty because she didn't know what was going on. And then I believe she takes the rap for the murder at the end of the movie. Yeah, here we go. The Cabin in the Woods. This has like a really high rating for some strange reason. I don't know why. It's sort of like a comedy slash, it's like a horror comedy. I guess it's like a comedy. I'm not sure. But it features a whole bunch of horror cliches. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. I did not like it, though. I didn't like it, even though it did have Amy Acker. That was really nice. Malicious, this was Molly Ringwald. This was a thriller. So she meets this guy who's a baseball player, and the baseball player has a girlfriend. She seduces the baseball player, And she has an amazing sex scene in this movie. Like, she shows her boobs and everything. Amazing boobs on Molly Ringwald. And so they have one passionate night together, and then he doesn't return like her calls or anything like that. He wants to go back to his girlfriend, and then she gets all jealous and malicious, and she starts trying to ruin his life. His girlfriend is really hot. I don't know what her name is. I think this is the only movie I've seen her in, but she is super hot. New best friend. Right. Okay. Trying to remember this movie. It features Mia Kirshner, but who else does it feature? Meredith Monroe. Oh, Dominique Swain. Right. Meredith Monroe. Okay. Rachel True. She played one of the witches in The Craft. Just trying to remember the plot of this. North Carolina sheriff investigates the near fatal... Oh, right. Okay, so this girl, I believe, overdoses on drugs. And then it sort of goes back in time, and it goes through what led to the overdose. And so originally she was like she was a bookworm. She was only interested in school. And then she gets partnered with this girl, Meredith Monroe. And in order to do some sort of school project. And Meredith Monroe and her friends are all into drugs and all that sort of stuff and partying. And so she starts to get sucked into this clique of girls with all the partying and the drugs. And I guess she takes it too far. But there's an underlying plot here. I think she doesn't overdose. She accidentally overdoses. Yeah, that's the plot here. But I forget who slipped her the overdose. I can't remember. Fuck you, you fucking... The screen went black again. Okay, we are back. If anyone knows why that happens, I mean, I tried Googling it. I don't know. Time loop, what the hell is this? I mean, I have to click. Well, whilst father and son invent a time machine, as they try to come to terms with what they have invented, they soon realize that their actions in the past have grave consequences. Yeah, I did not finish that movie. It seemed very tame. It wasn't quite what I imagined, I think. I feel like it was also an Italian movie. Was it? I don't remember. The Tangle, I did not finish this movie either. I don't even remember what it was about. The Vast of Night, I did not finish this movie either. Dementamania, I did not finish this movie either. I don't think. Dementamania, no, I did not. Curse of Mardi Gras, this was a really bad movie. I did not finish this movie either. Sanctuary, what the hell was this about? Come on, Sanctuary. Maybe if I click, I'll realize. Sanctuary, 4 people in a high-rise condo fight a malevolent force that seeks to destroy them, but when a mysterious being in a familiar body finds them, a group discovers what's truly at stake. I do not remember that at all. Probably didn't watch it. Voyagers. Okay, I started watching this. So Voyagers, this was, I believe, something was happening to the human race, and they had to send a bunch of people out into space. And so they had to send kids out into space for some reason. And one adult went as well in order to sort of supervise. And about halfway through the movie, I think the adult got killed or something. And so then it was just the kids. And then they were just sort of misbehaving. And I stopped watching it at that. 2149, The Aftermath. What is this movie about? In an oppressive future, a young man lives like everyone else in a small cement module. Yeah. Okay. So this is set in the future. There was some sort of disaster, I guess. And I don't know if it was a disaster, but everyone lives in this like little room, and they live in a chair like this, and they have a keyboard and they have a screen, and they basically just exist like this And then for some reason, he leaves his module. I don't know why. And he's outside, and he ends up meeting these. Right. Because he works. He works remotely, and so he's able to remote control like a big tractor, I should say. So he's digging dirt, and then he sees something in the camera, like an animal or something like that, and he's wondering what it is. And he eventually goes outside and he hunts it down in the woods, and there's a girl there out in the woods, and he doesn't know how to talk, actually, or he hasn't spoken in a long time, so he doesn't speak for a long time. The girl takes him, or I guess he follows the girl back to sort of like a cabin or something like that, and then her mother is there, and then there's other kids there, and so he spends time with them, with people, because he hasn't done that in a long time. And then he has a mother in another module, and so he goes back to try and get his mother out, and they have a bit of a reunion, but the mother is just in her chair. She doesn't even acknowledge him. So I don't remember how it ends. However, that movie was filmed in sort of just 30 miles away from me. So that's kind of interesting. So this features, what is that guy's name in? This is Samuel L. Jackson. And what is his name? Right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, do I have to look? I think I do, but I'm not going to. They were also in a movie together called 1408. I enjoyed that movie. His name is John something. And he has a sister, a famous sister. Anyway, so they're in an airport or something like that, and people start getting phone calls, and then they start turning into zombies from their cell phones. And so these guys are the only guys who didn't end up using their cell phones. And so then they have to fight zombies. So as soon as it turned into a zombie movie, I just stopped watching because I don't like zombies. Phantoms, this features Rose McGowan, and I think Ben Affleck's in this movie as well. I started watching it, but then I stopped. So I did not finish this movie. Wes Craven presents They, another movie I didn't finish watching. Solstice, okay, so this was about this girl here. She had a twin sister, I think it was a twin sister, who ended up killing herself for some reason a year prior. And then so a year goes by, and then her and all the group of friends, one of the guys was the suicide girl's boyfriend at the time. So they go to a cabin, as they always do every year. And right, okay. And okay. So the one sister, she thinks she's seen her other sister's ghost. And eventually she figures out what actually happened to her sister. No, not the sister. She finds out what happens to a young girl. A young girl got killed, apparently, nearby. There's a mosquito. Okay, it flew away. So that's what happened there. Lucid, I did not finish this. Lavender, I did watch this, but I don't remember what happened. I honestly don't remember. I watched the whole thing, basically, yeah. Well, okay, after losing her memory, begins to see unexplained things after a psychiatrist suggests... Yeah, I don't remember. This was September 11th. This was over a month ago. Okay, Nancy, this was a strange movie. So this was a very lonely girl. She lived with her mother. Her mother was very sick, and the mother treated her like shit. She basically sort of walked all over Nancy, even though Nancy was taking care of her. Nancy was very lonely. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have a boyfriend. She worked at a job. I think she was like a receptionist at a doctor's office. Sorry about the pause there. My brain was buffering. And so she had sort of a relationship with like her coworkers, but not really. They weren't really friends or anything like that. And so she was trying to get some human contact. She tried to. John Leguizamo played a guy who. What did he do? I think she pretended that she was pregnant, and so she was talking to this guy who was into. I forget what happened, but she was talking to a guy online. That's what I'm trying to say here. And then so she ends up going out to get groceries, and then she sees the guy in the grocery store, and then so she sees him, and she's all freaked out, and she leaves, but the guy sees her, and he sort of tracks her down in the parking lot, and he's like, did you get rid of the baby or something like that? Anyways, he realizes that she was lying the whole time, and he leaves. And then so she eventually, her mother ends up dying, and so she's all alone. She has a cat. She sees these people on TV. I believe it was what is his name? He was in Fargo. William H. Macy. No, not him. The other guy, Steve Buscemi. He plays this father, and then he had a wife. And apparently 10 years earlier, their daughter went missing. Their young daughter went missing, and it was never found. Or 10 or 20 years earlier, probably 20. Yeah, 20 years earlier. And so this Nancy girl sees that on TV. They're doing some fundraiser or something. And then so she starts to believe that maybe she's the girl who... I don't think that's true. I don't think she believes that. I think she is pretending to be the girl that went missing. And so she calls these people and says, "I'm your daughter," and she's not trying to she's not trying to extort money from them or anything like that. I think she's just lonely, and she's looking for some sort of human contact. And so she ends up meeting them. They're skeptical at first, obviously. The wife is more sort of sympathetic with Nancy. The husband is very skeptical. But the husband ends up coming around towards the end, and something ends up happening towards the end there. Yeah, so they're out for a walk, and there are these hunters. One of the hunters accidentally gets shot, and then so Nancy is out there walking with the mother. And because Nancy works at a doctor's office, I guess she has some sort of medical training. And so she springs into action. She helps the guy. And so the mother and the father, they don't call her out. They eventually realize that she's not actually their daughter. But they don't call her out on it. They can realize that there's something wrong with this girl. And so it's like, it's a pretty sad movie. Even though she was lying about being their daughter, it was pretty sad, but I mean, I did enjoy it. It was a weird movie. I remember reading a review on IMDb about it. It said something, it was like something touching. Like how they were describing the movie. I can't remember, but it was very appropriate. Daniel Isn't Real. Okay, this features Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, I believe. So this guy, when he was younger, he had an invisible friend, an invisible friend, who apparently was like a bad influence, and so his mother told him to put the invisible friend, who she couldn't see, into this dollhouse. And so he traps him in the dollhouse. And then they put a blanket over the dollhouse. And then skip ahead, I don't know how many years, the guy is in college now. And for some reason, they remove the blanket from the dollhouse, and the invisible friend suddenly appears again. And he's grown up just like the kid, just like the son. And so the son so this invisible friend, he's like a Chad. He's a Schwarzenegger. And so he is giving and the other guy is sort of, I don't know if nerd is the right way, but he is the right word, but he doesn't have the same, like he doesn't have a way with the ladies. And so the invisible friend is giving this guy tips and pointers on how to get with these girls. And it turns into a really strange movie towards the end there. They end up like switching with each other, switching roles. So the real guy ends up being the invisible guy, and then so the real guy gets sort of trapped in this weird dungeon type thing. It was very abstract and sort of fantasy like. It was really cool. That part was really cool. I would recommend this movie for sure. Antidote. This was right. Okay, so this was okay. I just have to read the synopsis here. A young woman is held captive in an underground medical facility where selected individuals are perpetually operated on and then healed using an experimental miracle drug, a cure-all. Okay, so she's trapped in this hospital room, and there are other people in other rooms as well, and they have like their bones broken and stuff, and then they're healed again. Some guy is like a doctor is doing this to them, and so it turns out that she was in hell or something like that. I think that's the thing about this movie. She was actually in hell. So I don't know what she did in her life, but she was dead, and everyone else was dead as well, and even the doctor was dead too, and they were all in hell. But what I remember, so the movie goes on, and so the main character chick, she is in a hospital gown for the whole movie basically, and then it cuts to when they finally reveal that she's been dead this whole time. It cuts to her on a hospital bed in real life actually, and they have the gown like ripped open, and they're like zapping her with the things, and you can like totally see her tits and all that, and it was it was really nice. It just came out of nowhere too. Really nice boobs though, and you couldn't tell because of the hospital gown, and all of a sudden they're like exposed. It was really nice. Identicals. Oh, this movie was fucking weird. This movie reminded me of Lost Highway in the sense of how fucked up it was. So this guy and his girlfriend, this movie was so stylish. It looked so good. The camera work was amazing. And the story was extremely, like, there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue. You didn't even really know what was going on a lot of the time. And I think that was its charm. It was a lot of style. I mean, some people complained on IMDb how it was just style over substance or something like that. But I feel like that was part of its charm. So a guy and his girlfriend, they're in the attic, and then some people break in, and they end up shooting. No. They try to, I think they shoot the girlfriend. They kidnap the girlfriend. There's two guys break in. One of them kidnaps the girlfriend. And that guy ends up like hitting one of them over the head or something. And he takes off the girl's, like, making mask, or the intruder's mask or something like that. And it ends up being like the girl. So it's like there's two versions of the girl or something. And then some people call him, and they're like, come to this office because people are going to think that you killed your girlfriend. And he ends up going there, and then they talk him into signing up for this thing where he can get like a new life. They can reprogram his brain, and he can get a new life. And so he goes through with it. But he still has these lingering memories about his previous life. And he wants to find out, he wants to search out his girlfriend. And he eventually sees her, and he tries to interact with her, but then the people who are involved with this project or whatever, they put a stop to that. They like beat him up and stuff like that, and they say he's not allowed to get involved with her. But a lot of this is really stylish camera work. I remember there was this one scene where I think this was shortly after his brain got reprogrammed, and so you're in like this sort of sterile environment where there are these fluorescent lights on the ceiling, and so you're looking up at the ceiling. The camera's looking up at the ceiling, and it's sort of panning down. It's going down the room in the hallway. Or it's not a hallway. It's a big ass room. It's a big ass well lit room with the fluorescent lights, and the lights are rectangles, and it looks very pleasing to the eye as it's slowly going down this, and then it starts to rotate, and then it mutates. But it doesn't even look like it mutates. It doesn't even look like it changes. But it rotates, the camera rotates. And so the rectangles are in a different orientation now. And it zooms out. And you realize that you're looking at the side of a building. And it's like, how did they even do that? It started inside a building. Obviously, it was done digitally or something, but it looked amazing. It was so trippy and cool. If you want to watch a stylish movie, watch this. The reason why it reminds me of Lost Highway is because Lost Highway was really fucking weird as well. And this gave me a very similar vibe as that. But this movie looked so cool. So cool. Wish Upon, I started watching this and then I stopped because it was high school people, but it felt like it was a movie for middle school people. Like some of these movies where there's high schoolers, but it's actually like it's for older people. Like it's, but this one felt like it was actually for younger people. Like it was about high schoolers, but it was for younger people. So I stopped watching that. Look Away. This was a great movie. I really like this movie for a couple different reasons. So this one, Look Away, this was about a girl. She was a very awkward girl. She was extremely hot. She played a high schooler, but she was like 20, early 20s. This girl, I believe her name is India Isley, who apparently is the daughter of Olivia Hussey. Now, she played a character in the movie Black Christmas from the 70s. Very hot girl. I remember watching that movie. And I've always been a big fan of Olivia Hussey because of that movie. And I didn't even know that this chick was her daughter until later on. Now, so she was kind of an outcast. She didn't have she was really hot, but she was very awkward. And she basically had one friend who treated her badly. And then there was a bully at school, a hockey player guy at school who would, bully her and all that sort of stuff. And then somehow she starts seeing her reflection in the mirror, behaving differently than what's actually going on. And she starts talking to the reflection is talking to her. And it's like her alter ego. And so the alter ego talks her into like kissing the mirror. And by doing that, they're able to switch places. So now the awkward girl is the reflection, and the more, what's the word? Confident alter ego girl is the girl in real life. And so her whole demeanor changes. And, she ends up sticking up for herself with her friend because her friend treats her like shit. Her friend ends up dying because of what she does. They go skating and she dies. And then what else happens? So her friend has a boyfriend. And so after her friend dies, the alter ego has sex with the boyfriend. And her father is, I believe, a plastic surgeon. And so he's obsessed with looks, and he's talking about how he's going to, for her birthday, he's going to give her like some surgery to make her look better, even though she's fucking super hot right now. So she feels very self-conscious about her looks. That's probably why she's like awkward and, you know, self-conscious and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the movie, she takes the father up on the offer to do the surgery, and she ends up taking all her clothes off, and she's like fully nude. She's wearing a merkin, obviously, but holy shit, was she ever hot. And the scene was quite long too. And I think that's when I realized that was her daughter, because I looked her up on IMDb, and it's like, this is Olivia Hussey's daughter. I was like, oh my God. Hotness runs in that family, that's for sure. If I remember correctly, I think she is Olivia Hussey. I believe she's married, or at least she was married to a musician or something like that, I think. Ferocious, this features Amanda Crew, another super hot girl. She is Canadian. And Kim Coates, I believe, is in this one as well. Kim Coates is a guy, Canadian. I believe it's a Canadian movie. The reason I watched this was because of Amanda Crew. So I believe Amanda Crew was in, you may know her from, I don't know where from Silicon Valley. She plays a character in that. I haven't seen that show, but apparently she's in that movie, in that show, I should say. First time I saw her was in a tennis show called 15 Love, way back in the day. She was also in a Canadian show called Whistler. It was like a teen drama type thing. And in this movie, she plays a small town Canadian girl who ends up getting famous, I think, for probably, she ends up becoming an actress, famous actress. And she ends up going back to her hometown, and then they have like an interview on local TV. But there's this guy who works at a strip club, and apparently he's got like a sex tape of her, and he is extorting money from her in order to keep the sex tape private. And so she eventually, it's not just a sex tape, it's like, I feel like it's also, I can't really remember. I think she doesn't just have sex on camera. She also like, oh, right, I remember now. She doesn't kill the guy, but she like cuts him and gives him like a huge scar. And so she doesn't want that to get leaked out. And then there's some sort of, she has like this fan, and who ends up killing some guy. And then I think his brother or something like that. I can't really remember. It was an okay movie though. This one also features Amanda Crew. This is why I watched this one. This is called Repeaters. I really like this movie. This was about 3 drug addicts who were in rehab. And I think they all met in rehab as well. So they were like, I don't know what they were into, but pretty hard drugs, I think. And so they're in rehab, and then they spend a day there, and then they wake up the next day and they realize that they're repeating the same day. And eventually they realize that they're repeating the same day. I just said that. And so they're trying to and so they start doing different things during the day, but they still, at the end of the day, they repeat the same day. It's always the same day, no matter what they do. So they start off by like robbing a liquor store. They go get drugs one day, and all this sort of stuff. One of the guys has a younger daughter. I feel like he owed someone money, and so the person who he owed money to went to his house and sort of, I don't know if he beat up the daughter, I think, or he beat up his sister. I mean, did I say daughter? I meant sister, younger sister. But no matter what they do, the day keeps repeating. And one of the guys is a real crazy guy. This guy in the middle is a psychopath, I think. And so he doesn't give a shit. He ends up spending, because the day just keeps repeating, so it doesn't matter what they do. So he ends up like raping girls and stuff like this. And he doesn't even care. He kills people, and it doesn't matter to him because the day just keeps repeating. However, yeah, so eventually the day stops repeating. The next day starts. And if I remember correctly, I don't remember. Anyway, it was a cool movie. I really liked the movie. But yeah, the first day that they're there, they're really sad. Their lives are really bad, and there's a lot of crying for the first day. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And then the second day, once the days start repeating, it ends up being really good. Replace, this was a pretty strange movie. So this girl, there's a lot of nudity in this movie as well. It was really cool. This reminded me of one of those movies that they play on TV station called Showcase in Canada back in like the 90s. Now this girl, her skin starts falling off, and so it's really strange. She doesn't know what's going on with her skin, and she eventually finds out, or she goes to the doctor. The doctors are they're not sure what's going on. They think it's just a skin condition. She sees so she goes back to the doctor, and it's like it's gotten way worse really fast, and the doctors doesn't know what the problem is. And so she figures out that if she takes the skin from someone else and puts it on her, her skin gets better. And so she starts to kill people in order to steal their skin. And then at the end of the movie, you realize that this girl is actually like an old woman, and she had some sort of experimental procedure done on her in order to make her young. However, she was losing her memory, and it stopped working, and so she didn't realize what was happening to her. Parallel, if this is okay, there's two. Yeah, this was about a group of friends who live in a group of roommates. And then there's this room in the place that they're renting that they've never been in before. It's like hidden off. It's like an attic. I think, yeah, it's the attic. And there's this mirror there. And they realize that they can go through the mirror and they will be in a parallel universe. And so they end up doing that. They do things in the parallel universe and stuff happens. And I think people die. And I remember liking this movie, though. The alternate, I really liked this. This was like a pretty low budget movie, I believe, but it was really cool. This guy, he was writing a script or something. Him and his girlfriend his girlfriend was starting to get, sick of him because he wasn't making a lot of money. And so he was writing a script for a movie, and he was doing some sort of commercial work just to pay the bills. And while he was doing that, there was some sort of thing on his camera in the actual video. And so when he's doing the editing at home for this commercial, he zooms in on the little dot, and he zooms really, really far in, and he has it on his on his what's that called? Projector, on his projector screen in his basement, big screen on his basement. And he has that, and all of a sudden he's able to put his hand into it, and it turns into this portal into an alternate reality. And so, it leads into his basement, but it's a different version of him. It's the version of him where he's made his movie and he becomes a big director guy or a big writer guy or something like that. And so him and his wife, or him and his girlfriend, have a great life. They have a daughter. And so this guy keeps going back to that reality, and then he ends up having sex with that version of his girlfriend. That version of his girlfriend doesn't realize that this guy is a different guy. And then I forget how it ended, but I really did like this movie. The capture... A group of scientists perform an experiment bending space of... Yeah, I did not finish this movie. Dark Skies. This featured Kerry Russell. She is a super hot girl. She played the wife, and then there was a husband, and they had a younger son. Dark Skies. So just trying to remember what happened. There was aliens involved, alien abductions. I wish I could remember. Weird stuff. Oh, I remember now. So they would go to sleep at night. I feel like there was a daughter involved as well, but they would go to sleep at night and they would wake up and there'd be like stuff in the kitchen. All the pots and pans were out of their cupboards, or there was some sort of stack, like everything was stacked on top of each other, and no one knows what happened. They think the young son did it because of his sleepwalking or something like that, but it turns out it's aliens they're trying to come for him. And I forget how it ends. Lazarus Effect. This was with Olivia Wilde. So this was about a group of scientists, I guess you could say, and they were trying to reanimate the dead. Yeah, that's what it was. And I think they were doing a test. And then Olivia Wilde's character, she was throwing the switch, but she had some metal on when she did it, and she electrocuted herself by accident. And so the lead scientist guy, who is her husband or boyfriend or whatever, they put her on the bed and they try to reanimate her. And they reanimated a dog first. That's how they knew that it worked. So they reanimate her, but she's not quite the same as seen with the dog as well. The dog was acting funny too, and so she's not quite the same. And I really liked the ending because you think that so she starts to kill everyone, I believe, and I really like the ending because you think that this one girl is gonna survive, but it ends up just being a hallucination. So it had a really cool ending. I like that movie. Anna. This featured, what is her name? Farmiga. Tessa Farmiga. She played some sort of, I think she played a high school. She was like 20 years old or something like that. She is so hot. She is the sister of Vera Farmiga. And the funny thing is, Vera is 21 years older than Tessa. Vera Farmiga is an actress as well, but they have a really big age difference. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah, this guy, I don't know what this guy's name is, but he is like a psychologist or something, and he is like an expert in some form of new futuristic psychology, where you're able to go inside the mind of someone by, I don't know if using some sort of technology or something like that. And so he tries to go inside the mind of Tessa. I don't remember why, but I think she has like problems. And so it ends up, it turns out that she was able to sort of resist what he was doing to her. And so she was sort of implanting memories or implanting visions and thoughts into his mind. And what she really wanted was to get out of the situation that she was in at home, because apparently she was being abused or something like that. And she ended up, I think, putting this guy in prison for some reason. And then, but she ended up undoing it. She just needed a way so that she could escape. And when she escaped, then she was able to prove that he didn't do any of this. I know that doesn't explain anything. The To-Do List. This is an Aubrey Plaza movie. So this is a comedy. And I felt like a comedy that night, I guess. There was a very graphic masturbation scene in this movie with Aubrey Plaza. She is really hot in this movie as well. She has a couple bathing suit scenes. So basically the gist of this movie, she plays like a very smart girl, very inexperienced in the sexual areas. And so then she writes a to-do list of all the kind of sexual stuff she wants to do. And then she she checks it off before she gets into college, I believe. Pandorum, I did not finish this. I know that. The Endless, did I watch this? No, I didn't finish this one. No. Megan, right. So this is sort of like similar to the movie Chucky. I believe this features Allison Williams. She plays a girl who invented a robot. This Megan robot who ends up being evil and tries to kill her. Night Swim. Who is in this movie? I don't remember who's in this movie. No, I don't recognize. So, okay. I just remembered now. So a guy, an ex-ball player, he gets injured, and then, so him and his wife, they have a child. I think they have 2 kids, actually. They end up buying a house with a pool in it. And every time they go swimming, something weird happens. So there's like a spirit trapped in the pool. And so they have like a pool party, something weird happens. And Nocturne, this is featuring Sydney Sweeney. That's why I watched it. Sydney Sweeney. And so she plays a twin sister. Her sister, I don't know who plays her. They're not identical, obviously. But they play piano. They're like musicians, and they go to a prestigious musical university. And so Sydney Sweeney's character is the more is shy and sort of introverted, whereas her sister is more extroverted and outgoing and whatnot. But they both play piano, and the sister is like very talented. It's very easy for her. Sydney Sweeney's character, she's very talented as well, but she has to practice a lot. And so Sydney Sweeney's character is sort of always in the shadow of her sister. And I believe the sister ends up dying or getting injured or something. So the sister was chosen to play like the solo at some recital or something. And then, or she was being chosen to be in some program at the university, and then she got injured, and now she was chosen to do it. And it sort of reminded me of the movie Black Swan. It had sort of some similarities. The Lie. Oh, the Lie. This one was this was an interesting movie. So, okay, so there's a guy. Husband and wife, and they have a daughter. They end up getting divorced. And the daughter is supposed to go to a gymnastics retreat for a weekend or something. And so the father is driving her there, and they come across one of the daughter's friends waiting at the bus stop, who also happens to be supposed to be going to this retreat, this gymnastics retreat. And so, or this dance retreat or something like that. And so, the daughter wants her friend to go with them because she really likes her friend for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because they're friends. So she talks the father into driving them there. And so on their way there, the daughter's friend says that she has to use the washroom. So they're sort of out in the country, and so there's nowhere to go. It's winter, so they pull off to the side of the road. The girls go off into the snow. And then the father ends up hearing a scream. And so the father runs over, and the daughter is there, and she says that there was a bridge. There was a bridge there, and with some icy water down below. And she says that she pushed her friend off the ledge. And so the father thinks that she killed her friend. And so she brings her home. He eventually had to tell his ex-wife what happened. And so they're trying to keep this secret. And then the father of the girl who got killed is asking them questions like, do you know where my daughter is? She was supposed to go to this dance retreat or gymnastics retreat. We had an argument, and I don't know if you know where she is. If she contacts your sister or your daughter, can you please tell me, and all that sort of stuff. And then, so they just keep having this lie. They're holding this lie for the daughter. And so the daughter apparently pushed the friend off the bridge, right? And then she starts acting just regular, like normal. She's watching TV and stuff. And so the parents are wondering why she's acting so strange. And then it turns out that the friend's purse was like at the husband's house. And so they had to dispose of the evidence. And so they brought it to they were going to try and frame the girl's father. So the missing girl's father. And so they go to his house in order to bury it in his backyard. And so they do. So the father's doing that. And then his ex-wife is sort of in a laneway, and the father of the missing girl comes over and starts asking her, what are you doing here? And they're getting into an argument. And then so they get into the car and they start driving away. And then that father with the missing daughter, goes in front of them and gets run over. And so he's dead. And so they drag his body into like the river or something. They go home, they're washing off, and then they're exhausted. They're trying to keep this lie. Of the daughters. Yeah, they're trying to keep this lie going to spare the daughter's life, because if she goes to jail, her life's going to be over. So they're doing this for their daughter, and it's just spiraled out of control. So they go into it's like the end of the weekend now, and they go into the garage in order to wipe the blood off of the car from the guy that they just ran over. And the girl who apparently got pushed off the bridge is there, and she's like, hey, is your daughter there? And they're just like looking at her like, what the hell? And she's acting like nothing happened. And so she says, she's like, so apparently what happened was the girl who fell off the bridge, she told the daughter to tell her parents that she pushed her off the bridge just so that she could like go to her boyfriend's house for the weekend. And she went along with it. The daughter went along with it, and she led her parents to believe that she killed her friend. And that led to the parents killing the girl's father in real life. And so, very, very funny movie. At the end, it wasn't funny, but it was a very humorous at the very end there. Cube Zero. This is apparently I've watched Cube before, the original Cube. I really like that. I don't know if I've seen the second one. I think this is like the third or the fourth one. I don't even know how many there are, but there are multiple iterations of the Cube movies. And this one is another one. So you're stuck in this gigantic cube that has a bunch of different cubes inside the cube, and each one has a different way of killing you. Some of them are safe. Others they're like they will kill you in some fashion. And so it has these people who are trying to escape the cube. And then in this version, there are these people who are sort of who are looking. What's the word? It's right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. Oh, I almost had it. They're looking at cameras and they're observing what's going on in the cube, making sure what's going on. They work for whoever owns the cube. And then one of those guys ends up going into the cube in order to help this woman. And I think she does end up she does escape. But the guy who helped her doesn't escape. Okay, there you go. Coherence. What the heck is Coherence? This was an interesting movie. This was actually, it's similar to Curb Your Enthusiasm in the way the dialogue behaves, because I think I said behaves because of behavior right here. Now, this was written like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, because the way Curb Your Enthusiasm was written, you would have like a little card that described how the scene was going, but then all the dialogue would be improvised. And so that's how this movie was written as well. You had a bunch of actors, they were there, they went over to someone's house for a dinner party. And so each person would have like a little note of what their character, like if they had to say something specific, then they would have to like get that in, or if they had to do something, they would have to do something. They would have to do that thing, eventually. But all the dialogue was improvised, and so it was kind of chaotic because a lot of people were talking. It seemed pretty natural, but that wasn't all. There was an element of science fiction in this as well. So there was some sort of power outage. There was some sort of atmospheric thing, like I don't know if there was a comet that was coming really close to the Earth, and the power was going out, and there ended up being some sort of portal in the neighborhood, and if you went through the portal, you would be in an alternate reality, and so that was kind of interesting. Nicholas Brendan was in this movie. He played Xander in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Disturbing Behavior. We're almost at the end. Oh my God. Disturbing Behavior, featuring Katie Holmes. Oh my good God. This is one of her earlier movies. I think this is the first movie I saw her in. And good God. Catherine Isabelle is also in this movie. This is the first movie that I saw Catherine Isabelle in as well. She played a young kid, though. She played like this guy, the main character guy's younger sister. Now, Catherine Isabelle, I know, was born the same year as me, 1982. I'm just trying to think when this movie was released. This was released, I think, in 98. So she would have been like 15 or something like that when it was filmed. But if I'm assuming you know what disturbing behavior is. So this guy moves to a new city, and then people are getting sort of taken over by these, being reprogrammed or something, and they're behaving like, I don't know what the word is, but getting with the program. Polaroid, there's this girl, what's her name? This girl was really hot too. Catherine Prescott. Apparently she was on the TV show Skins, I think. I don't know. I've never seen her before. Apparently she's British, but she was really hot in this movie. She played like an awkward high schooler, I guess. And who worked at a camera store. And so her friend gave her this camera, this Polaroid camera, some sort of really good Polaroid camera that he found at a garage sale. And she was all psyched about it because it apparently was a really good camera. So she starts taking pictures, and then depending on what was in the picture, that person would get killed or get targeted. And so her and her friends realized the pattern there. And then they ended up figuring out that the camera was owned by a girl, like a girl back in the day who was abused or something like that. I don't really remember. Black Christmas, I mentioned this movie actually. Olivia Hussey was in the original one from the 70s. This is the remake featuring who's in this movie? Lacey Chabert's in it. Who else is in this movie? There's a lot of hot chicks in this movie. Let's see. Oh, fuck you, black screen of death. Come on. Okay. So let's go to details. That's not helpful at all. Katie Cassidy. Yeah, Michelle Trachtenberg. Oh, Catherine. Is it Catherine? Catherine Lowe? It's not Catherine. It's... Catherine. She was also Crystal Lowe. Crystal Lowe is in this movie as well. Lacey Chabert, Crystal Lowe, and Michelle Trachtenberg. Who is this? I'm not sure. This is Katie Cassidy, I believe. This movie was horrible. Horrible. Did not like it at all. So apparently this was a remake of the 70s movie, but it was different. And so I guess all the girls are in like a sorority, I think. And they go to this house. I don't know if it's supposed to be a sorority house or something. Apparently a guy used to live there, and then he starts calling them, and then he starts killing off all the girls. But they added this backstory to this guy, and the backstory parts were really bad, in my opinion. I didn't like it at all, which is unfortunate because this movie was stacked with hot chicks. All Hallows Eve. This was like a movie separated into 3 parts, I believe. Yeah. It was like 3 short movies, and then it was sort of woven together with stuff at the beginning and then in between each of the movies. But I think the plot was it was Halloween, and there was 2 kids, and their parents went out, and so they called a babysitter. The babysitter went over, and the young guy, and I guess she took them trick-or-treating. So they come home, and they put out their candy on the thing, and the kid, the boy, there's a girl and a boy. The boy ends up getting like a VHS tape in his bag. Someone gave him a VHS tape, and so he really wants to watch it. The babysitter finally says, "Okay, we'll watch it," and then it ends up being these 3 horror movies. And the last one is actually, it gets pretty crazy. Very gory as well at times. Now, if I remember correctly, eventually, yeah, this woman is getting chased in the last one. And at the end, she gets her arms cut off, her legs cut off, and the camera's like over top of her. She's totally naked, with her like limbs all gone. And I don't know what else is happening, but it's a very... It looked really nice, and it was a pretty disturbing movie. Wishmaster 4, yeah. And we're ending it with the Wishmaster movies. So when I moved over to Amazon Prime, I think I did because Prime Video, because it had the Wishmaster movies. Now, I remember these from when I was younger. I used to like these movies. Actually, I have some of my old songs from the year 2000. I have samples from one of these Wishmaster movies. I don't know which ones, but I think it's at least 2 songs. 2 of my songs have samples from the Wishmaster series. The first Wishmaster is really quite good. The second one, I don't remember. I don't even remember what the plot was. Some sort of ancient device. It's similar to Hellraiser, I guess. But this guy gets released. He's like a genie or some shit. I guess he grants wishes. I don't really remember. How can I not remember? What I remember about Wishmaster 4, well, a couple things I remember. The makeup wasn't as good in Wishmaster 4. However, it did feature this Canadian actress chick who was on... she was on an episode of The Outer Limits. She was also in an episode, not just an episode. She starred in in a show called Corner Gas, which was a popular Canadian show. She played a police officer, but in this movie, she has she plays like the girlfriend, the main character, and she has like right at the beginning of the movie, she has a full-on sex scene with her like tits out. She has amazing tits. I had no idea her tits were that nice, and they're bigger than you thought too. Purely based off of the Corner Gas TV show, because she's in uniform the whole time, and it's really nice to see this. And so that is my watch history, my Amazon Prime Video watch history. I can't believe I did that. How long was this video? It's got to be over 2 hours long. 2:24. Good God. I'm assuming no one's going to actually watch this, because those were some horrible video reviews, movie reviews. Who would watch that? Now I have to count how many videos there are. I could probably like highlight all this stuff and then put into a spreadsheet. And then what I wanted to do was figure out how many movies there actually were. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. There actually was. So I'm going to highlight all the text. I will bring it into a spreadsheet, and then I'll count how many lines there are. And then I'll add that to like my YouTube title or some shit. Now, I'm not going to do the Netflix one soon. This was not as fun as I thought it would be. Well, I knew it wasn't going to be fun because this relies on my speaking. It heavily relies on my speaking, and I'm not very good at that. So, but if you did watch this into the end, then I think you deserve a prize or something like that. I don't know what the next video is going to be, but I'll work on that. And so until next time.